5 years ago, BMW unveiled its new generation of the M3 and M4, and it nearly sparked a revolution. The internet was flooded with memes mocking the massive
And I've
grilles.
got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
You couldn't scroll without bumping into another joke. It got so intense, the company started making aftermarket body kits just to shrink those grilles down. But let's not blame only BMW. Mercedes and their EQ lineup, those egg-shaped electric pods, slid by without nearly the same ridicule. Maybe folks just couldn't come up with a good enough meme, So here's the real question. How did we go from dreaming about cars to barely caring, or worse, hating how they look? We used to tape posters to our walls. Today, we scroll past them like they're just another ad. Let's dive into this mystery of why modern cars feel dull, cold, and yes, ugly. It all started simple. Early cars looked like horse carriages because that's exactly what they were trying to replace. No one cared how they looked, only that they worked. But then, as more models flooded the market, automakers had to stand out. Style became strategy. In the 30s, curves were king. Aerodynamics became trendy. Pop-up headlights debuted. Art Deco and streamlined modern ruled the design world. Buildings, posters, furniture, and yes, cars, all followed this unified look. The 30s gave us rolling sculptures like the Cord, Lincoln Zephyr, Talbot Lago, and the stunning Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. Second World War paused the design evolution, but in the 50s, America came roaring back with fins, chrome, and pastel dreams. Think Cadillac Eldorado, Chevy Bel Air, Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. Everything looked like it might blast off to space, and chrome? More was never enough. Grilles, bumpers, door handles, shine it all. Even the colors got wild. Baby blues, mint greens, bubblegum pinks. By the 60s, Europe perfected sleek design. The Jaguar E-Type, Lamborghini Miura, the British roadsters like the MG and Lotus Elan. Sure, they broke down every other weekend, but at least you looked stylish waiting for the tow truck. Meanwhile, America birthed the muscle car. The Ford Mustang arrives, and the era of bold, aggressive cars begins. Dodge Charger, Corvette Stingray, cars that looked angry, even parked. The 60s also marked the rise of pop-up headlights and simpler, cleaner lines. Chrome faded. Designs matured, but slowly regulations started hemming in creativity. Safety and emissions meant boxier shapes and fewer chances to get weird. Yet designers still pushed forward. The Wedge era hit in the 70s. Lancia Stratos, Lamborghini Countach, BMW M1, Aston Martin Lagonda, all sharp, all wild. SUVs also emerged, Blazer, Bronco, Land Cruiser, and that changed the game forever. In the 80s, curves returned to fight drag, blending with boxy bones. The BMW E30? A perfect example, squared off but softened just enough. Design icons of the era include the Ferrari F40, Lancia Delta Integrale, Audi Quattro, and Renault 5 GT Turbo. Then came the 90s, where computers and aerodynamics made cars balloon out. Smooth shapes took over. Efficiency was everything. Pop-up headlights died, bumpers became invisible, everything blended into everything else. But the 90s still gave us legends. Toyota Supra MK4, Mazda RX-7, McLaren F1, Subaru Impreza STI, machines that stirred the soul. In the early 2000s, things got more muscular again. Bulging fenders, dynamic curves. BMW E60 Alpha 8C, Mercedes SLR, Bugatti Veyron, sculptures with attitude. But then, 10 years later, something shifted. Something soulless crept in. Designers were no longer just sketching cars. Now they were responding to data, feedback loops, and user experience charts. Enter the UX design era. Tesla's Model SC defined this new look, a bland, inoffensive, familiar, not ugly, not beautiful, just there. Like a car from a video game that had to feel generic to suit every player, and it worked too well. Suddenly every car looked like a Tesla clone. Designers stopped risking. Why invent when you can just tweak what sells? And yet here's the twist. Once people noticed every car looked the same, the industry panicked. So they overcorrected. BMW doubled down on bigger, bolder, more bizarre. Tesla gave us the Cybertruck, a triangle on wheels. And now we're stuck in a world of fake vents, messy side profiles, and wild for the sake of wild. Design lost its emotion. Everything is focus grouped, flattened, scrubbed clean by algorithms. And when you design for everyone, you end up touching no one. But not all hope is lost. Brands like Mazda and Peugeot, they've stayed elegant. Cars like the Honda E and Renault 5 Revival show that nostalgia can shine. Even Hyundai's embracing Cyberpunk, brave, stylish, different. So why do modern cars feel uglier? Because too often they're made by teams chasing numbers, not dreams. Once, one designer could shape a legend. Now, it's meetings, metrics, and mid-curve safety. Back then, they might fail. But when they got it right, we made posters. We fell in love. We remembered. And that, more than anything, is what's missing. What do you think? Are cars really getting uglier, or are we just growing older and more nostalgic? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story hit the right nerve, stick around. We've got more turbo tales coming your way. Thank you for your attention and have a wonderful day. And I will be honored if you'll be a guest in my next video rant.